Well, today has been a special day because we just had Joe Rudy on, who is going into the A's Hall of Fame. And to my right, and for you listening on A's Cast Live, you can't see it, the great Dave Stewart, A's Hall of Famer, is with me. Stu, how are you? Good to see you.
Good to see you, man.
And I got to thank for you as someone who grew up watching Joe Rudy, Sal Bando, our guy Ray Fosse, who's going in. This class is probably pretty special for you as an A's Hall of Famer and to watch these guys go in.
Well, it is special, and I was a huge fan of Joe Rudy. And the A's teams. We can go all the way back to 1968 when they first came here, and when they became the championship teams that they were. I mean, it brought a lot of pride to the area, and I live right down the street, so I can pretty much ride my bicycle up, and I'm here in minutes. So it was just a great time to be, in East Oakland and to be an Oakland A's fan.
What did that team mean to you guys as a standpoint of putting Oakland on the map as kids?
Well, first of all, it's Oakland's first baseball team. And the number of kids that grew up here in the area. I mean, we can start with Joe Morgan, and we can go to Frank Robinson, we can Veda Pinson, we can take all those names, and the newer names are Ricky Henderson and Dontrell Willis and all those guys. We're all from this area, and in 1972, 73, and 74, Oakland's first baseball team, which was a relocation from Kansas City, we were all playing in our yards, and we unfortunately or fortunately left the Giants and became A's fans, and rightfully so. When you can put together teams that repeatedly win championships, win back to back to back years, it doesn't happen often, and I don't know how many times it's happened in Major League history.
Yeah, only the A's and the Yankees. There's only two organizations that have won three or more in a row, and it's these two organizations. And you think how long we've played baseball, that tells you a lot. What a great accomplishment this is. And for me, it's like I was born in 72, so I was alive, but I didn't get to see it. But now, having worked around the A's for so many years, I truly understand the greatness. And it's like they didn't get their due, but they're like a fine wine. As it gets older, they're aging really well, and they're finally really getting their due. As baseball history and historians are looking at this era going, hey, listen, this A's team, you can't tell the history of baseball without talking about the 80s of the early mid 70s.
I mean, you have to talk about those teams. If you talk about greatness, if you talk, you talk about, the greatest teams put together, you have to talk about those teams. Reggie Jackson in the middle of them, they had tremendously good pitching staffs each and every year, and they can hit, and they brought excitement to the game. They played the game the way the game that was supposed to be played. When the Oakland A's came in town with the white shoes and the green and gold, you knew that you had your work cut out, and those guys, they just refused to be beaten.
Well, one of the great things that we love having you on the program is we'll be hosting together A's pre and post game live, which is always fun. And as much as, when I was growing up in high school, being a pitcher, you were the man. So you were always one of those guys. I had a poster of you. You're one of those guys that from our generation, you're one of those players that we always hold in that pedestal. And then just from the A's world, and I think about your career, as a player, as a coach, as an agent, as a GM, and soon to be owner. Can't wait for all that. And that'll be huge. You basically, we always talk about the NFL Network has a football life. You've had a baseball life. And I wanted to ask you about the two guys that are so interesting right now. I want you to put your GM hat on. Is you think about, you got Juan Soto's 23. You got him if you trade for him, you can flip him at any point, but let's just say you're keeping him long term. You can keep him till the end of this year and then 2 more years. And then now they're floating out Shohei Ohtani, which is a generational player. He's a huge moneymaker. You think about what he does for you off the field and on the field. What do you think it would be like as an opposing GM to try and acquire one of these guys?
Well, it's a nightmare, quite frankly. Both of those players, Ohtani, I believe, is going to require more than Soto. because Otani is a two-way player, and he's not just a two-way player; he's a two-way all-star player.
Cash
He's
cow.
he's an all-star pitcher. He's an all-star hitter, and he does come into a lineup and come to a team, in my opinion, with more impact than Soto. And so, because of that, um, you don't have you don't have enough players, in my opinion, in your system, good players in your system, to make that kind of trade. You just don't have it, and I say that also about Soto. You just don't have enough good players in your system to make that kind of trade. And so, as a general manager, um, without putting your whole system, your whole minor league system at ransom, it's a very, very difficult trade to make for either one of those players.
Would it be like you go into a restaurant, you have a menu, you got your starters, you got your soups and salads, you got your entrees, you got your desserts? I mean, would you just say pick what you want?
Well, what you're going to have to try to do is, I mean, and it's an exchange. As a general manager, you send them over a list of players that you would be willing to trade, and obviously you're not sending them chump players. You're sending them a good list of players. You're going to have you're going to have some of your top 10 prospects in there, um, and hopefully you can get a deal done that way. But in a trade like this, the opposition, the Angels, are going to be sending you back your one, your two, your three, your four prospects, and they're going to be asking for a lot. It's a difficult trade to make. I can't even imagine um, what you get back in compensation. Is it a 4-player trade? Is it a 5-player trade? In my opinion, you don't have 4 players that are good enough for Otani.
Yeah.
You don't have 4 players that are good enough for Soto. And a lot of times when you have trades like this, it ends up being 3-way trades. You end up doing trades through other organizations to try to get the package that you want to put together. You get another organization's 1 or 2 prospects to try to put together a group of 1 prospects for an Otani or for a Soto.
And I know Bob Nightingale said today on friend of the program with another friend of the program, Buster Olney. Both those guys are very generous with their time, and they come on A's Cast Live. And Bob talked about the money that sponsorship wise that Otani brings in, 20 to 30 million a year, which I think could even be more because of how big he is in Japan. How much would ownership be looking at, not just what does this guy do as a pitcher? What does this guy do as a hitter? How does he affect us? It's like what he brings into the bottom line for an organization is amazing.
Well, I mean, this guy may be an equivalent to a Fernando Valenzuela. For me, in my period of time, Fernando Valenzuela filled the stadiums, not just in Dodger Stadium. He filled stadiums at every park he played in. Um, he brought the Mexican market back to Los Angeles. With Otani, I mean, you've got all markets. You've got the Asian markets. You've got everybody that watches baseball is watching this guy. And my guess would be, and I don't know this, now you're getting international. You're getting international media, not just the writers, but also television that are chiming into this. And there may be money from that, being available to watch him play every day and pitch. So there's a lot that he grabs from. There's a lot of pots that he's got his hands in that are all good for any baseball team that would acquire him.
Now, I can tell you, I lived Fernando Mania growing up in San Diego, and old Jack Murphy Stadium was built for football. It was a football stadium. And Padres would have, like 17,000, 15,000. Fernando Valenzuela would pitch, and it was like an NFL game.
Mm-hmm.
It was like it was unbelievable. It was like even like the night before, let's say he pitched on a Saturday, Dodgers would be in town to be 20,000. Next night, 56,000 people to watch for it. It was amazing.
That is right. There was never a game that Fernando pitched that the park didn't sell out. Wherever he was a tremendous draw, but he was a great performer. This is a guy that could swing the bat. He could pitch. He won. His rookie year, he did just about everything that you could do in a rookie season, and it continued on for year after year after year. But once again, in Dodger Stadium and at all ballparks across the country, this guy attracted fans like no other player did in that era, in that time.
and can still swing it with the old stick. So it's
Oh
still a
yeah.
tremendous golf. He was a great athlete. A lot
Oh
of
yeah.
people, you looked at, he was round, but Fernando was
He's a
legit.
great athlete. You're right.
All right, from the A's perspective, Tuesday's coming around the corner. Frankie Montas. I don't know if you throw Paul Blackburn in there, Cole Irvin. You start looking at position players, guys that could help you versatility-wise. When you look at a Pender, maybe even a Kemp who's started to get hot. Sean Murphy's a big call at catcher at 27 years old. How much action do you think the A's will do before the trading deadline?
I think that there's probably a lot of asking. No doubt about it. I think people are asking about Murphy. I'm not sure that Murphy is a tradable piece right now. Pender is a tradable piece. He's going to be a free agent. You've got Montas, who, in my opinion, is one of the top pitchers on the market for any team. He goes into a rotation. He's at the top of your rotation. And when I think about the rest of possible trades for the A's, I just don't know that it makes sense because they've got a lot of guys that are controllable pieces for a long time that aren't making a lot of money right now. And so there may be no reason to do that. And, I don't know that you're going to get that good of a return for any of these other pieces. Frankie Montas, the proper time to trade him. And I think that this was planned from the beginning of spring training till the point that he is traded, is that they figured his most effective time and the time that they would get the best that they could for him is at the trade deadline. And I believe that they're going to make a killing.
Okay, so I was going to ask you, I was going to follow up. If they don't get exactly what they want, do you hold them and wait till next offseason?
I don't think that it happens. I think that their best time is right now. I think that there are enough teams that are contending. Some teams that are short. When you look at the rotations of a lot of these teams, there are some holes in there. I mean, Houston Astros are a team that I like their starting rotation. I think that the Yankees aren't too sure about their rotation. The Phillies might be after them. You never know where this could end up, but teams that are a question mark in their rotation, their fourth and fifth guys, because Frankie fills in now at the top of the rotation that pushes everybody back. He may not be the one, but he might be the two, or he could be the three. And if he's the two, the three goes to four. So he's one of those guys that makes your rotation better. Gives you a little bit more length. I think that the time for the A's to move him is now.
Yeah, and then you can take one of your better starters for the playoffs and put that guy in the bullpen. And we saw how the Nationals used starters in the bullpen, and that was huge for them in their World Series run. Talking about what you have going, I know as big as A's pre- and post-game live is for you, you got some big things going in Nashville. If you haven't been following it, New York Times did a big thing on you. There's been a lot of national pub. But if you're an A's fan going, what's Dave Stewart been doing these days? We've talked a little bit, we're not doing TV together. We've talked about it. I think it's absolutely fascinating. What you're doing is going to be great for baseball, great for Nashville, great for your career.
Yep.
And you have to be so excited because once Oakland and Tampa get situated, here comes Dave Stewart and Nashville.
Nashville, we think that we're positioned really, really well in Nashville for expansion. I mean, as you mentioned, the A's have to solve their issues and problems here in Oakland or Las Vegas, wherever that's going to be. Tampa, I think, is being put in a position where they have to solve their problem in Tampa. We've got two expansion territories, which are Nashville. I should say two of the top expansion locations are Nashville and Las Vegas. I have been a part of a group in Nashville for the last 4 years. And now that more expansion talk is being spoken in the words of baseball, in the words of the commissioner, we have become a little bit more of I think, a front runner in this, in getting a team in Nashville. And then the other piece of that is that, baseball has said, and it's been spoken. I've spoken to several owners, and had many conversations at this point with the commissioner. And baseball is ready for black ownership. I'm not talking about 5% ownership, similar to what Jeter had, or 20% with Magic Johnson. And I'm not sure what LeBron James has with Boston, but I'm talking about 51% ownership. And I believe that I can pull this together. I have every reason to believe that I can get it done and will get it done. And, we've adopted the name of the Nashville Stars. in Nashville. And people say, well, what is that? Well, Nashville had an old Negro League team that played there, and Negro League teams played in Nashville in the 40s and the 50s. And so this, once again, will be a first for Major League Baseball to take an old Negro League team and apply that to a Major League Baseball team and have that as the name of your baseball organization. So the Nashville Stars is the name that we picked. Um, we've got great branding right now. We're we're not even a major league team, but if you look at our sports memorabilia and the things that we have in our shop, we're selling as good as some of the major league teams are
Get
selling.
the merch out
Yep,
there.
and on Twitter we're doing as good. Social media, we're doing as good as some of the major league teams out there. But the big piece of this is it's a mixed use development. We've teamed up, or we're teaming up right now. We're in conversation with TSU, Tennessee State University, one of the oldest black colleges, Negro League, Negro colleges. I'm sorry, mixing up my words, but TSU. And so we've teamed up with them. We have 106 acres of land. We're on the Cumberland River, which gives us a riverfront stadium. We're 3.5 miles from where everything is going on. SBCUs, I'm sorry, that's what I was thinking about. And TSU is one of the oldest, over 100 years. And so we've teamed up with them, and we plan to build the development. We're going to do what all of the other baseball stadiums are doing. Baseball will be surrounded by entertainment. Economy will be good in this area. Will be hotels, retail, housing, the whole bowl of wax. And we have a great plan for it. And right now, every conversation that we've had has been positive in the commissioner's office. And all we need to do now is solve your problems, and
Yeah.
Tampa solve yours, and let's move to the next step.
Yeah, and if you're ever in Kansas City, I always highly recommend it. The Negro League Museum in Kansas City is second to none. It's a phenomenal museum, and you can learn a lot about the Negro Leagues.
Yep, and we are partnered with them, by the way, with the Negro League Baseball Museum in Kansas City. Bob Kendrick.
Have them on this program multiple times.
We are partnered with them, and we plan to do a museum as well, as part of our stadium. And the other piece that I didn't tell you about, you and I have talked about, but what's interesting about this facility as well, because we are in Music City,
yes,
which is Nashville, we do plan to have an entertainment portion to our stadium as well. So it's not just Major League Baseball, which is going to be a 42,000 seat stadium, and you know why that is. We are celebrating Jackie Robinson. But we also have a 25,000 seat venue for entertainment. And so our plan with that is to hopefully do 200 shows a year, do some residencies similar to what you do in Las Vegas, but do it in Nashville with some of the local artists. And people say, well, you see those artists all the time, but believe it or not, you don't. They're traveling and they're doing their shows on the road. But similar to what Vegas does, if you can pull in a Garth Brooks, for example, or we already have Darius Rucker as part of our group. We've got Justin Timberlake as part of our group. Kane Brown is part of our group. Luke Combs, who is one of the biggest country and Western singers right now, is part of our group. If you can get residencies from those guys, then we can also entertain as well as play baseball.
Oh yeah, and then Disney on Ice comes through for 5 days, and then it's like it's because Nashville is basically the Vegas of the Southeast now. Everybody's doing their bachelor parties, their bachelorette party. It's like the hottest place to go. So, and one of the coolest things that I know we've talked about with Tennessee State is you helping rebuild part of the campus. So not only are you coming in going baseball stadium, you're talking about some type of like an arena type deal. I mean, and then you're going to build all the stuff and retail and condos and hotel and all that. But now you're also going to help rebuild part of the college.
And we are. Eddie George is the football coach there, and their football program is starting in an upward spiral. So we plan to do a football stadium for the college. Every year they're getting more students that are wanting to go to their college. And so housing is starting to be a problem. And so we plan to do more residential for the college, performing arts for the college. It's just going to be an overall upgrade on the college, and it's going to put it on the map. Eddie George is doing a great job with the football program. They want to regain their baseball program that they lost years ago. And so we want to be a part of all of that. But believe me, we are in great gratitude to the college for allowing us the opportunity to use that land for something that we think will be great for the North Nashville area in general. North Nashville is just like East Oakland, in my opinion. If you go through North Nashville, you might as well be going through East Oakland. So for me, there is a passion in that as well. As you know, I wasn't picked to do the development at the Coliseum on the city portion of the land, and so to still be able to do something great in a community that reminds me of a place that I grew up in is top notch for me.
When I think about what you guys are trying to do, so many times I'll have people on the post game show, Joe, just build a stadium. It's like that's not what people want to do now. There's more than just building a stadium. And for you, being able to get the plans together with engineers and architects, how much fun has that been? I mean, you're planning your own entertainment world.
Well, I mean that's the key to it all. I mean, you get a hand in it from the ground up, from the bottom to the top. And I don't think that there's anything better than that. I mean, if you've ever built your own home, that might compare to this, but this is a step bigger than that because baseball has been my life. I've been in baseball for 45 years, 46 years. I've worked, as you said, in every aspect of the game, from coaching to managing to being a general manager, minor league. I've done it all. And this for me is the last episode. This is the last page in my book to be able to put together not just a baseball team, but to put together an atmosphere, to build culture, to help enhance an area. Um, I don't think that there's anything bigger than that.
Did you ever envision anything like this for your career?
I didn't. When I was a kid, I know we used to sit on the front porch of me and a good friend of mine, Warnell Simpson. We sat on the front porch and we envisioned all the great things that we wanted to do here in the Bay Area. And some of them, when I was a player, I was able to accomplish. And then, as your playing career goes on and on, you take things a step at a time at that point. You look at how long is your career going to be, but you got to play every year to get to 16 years. And then after 16 years, how do you stay involved? Is it going to be in coaching? Are you going to be in the field? Will you manage? Will you be in the front office? And I chose the path of front office and eventually got a chance to coach. And then after all of those years, I just thought, I'm not done with the game. But I don't want to be bossed. I want to be a boss. I want to have the opportunity to have an effect on an organization, on a culture. And we are minority, but we're also diverse. And in that, we get an opportunity to be a blueprint for all businesses across the country, to be an example of what your business should look like and how it should be run and how things should look. And that is the piece that motivated me. We're in a time here now, where it's necessary and it's needed. Um, and I want to be a part of that. I don't profess to be a world leader, but I do know, growing up here in the Bay Area, and being involved in all different aspects and all nationalities of people and all walks of life, I think that baseball needs that. But I also think that baseball's not alone. I think that all businesses need that. They need opinions from all walks of life, people that look like you, people that look like me, people that are Fernando Valenzuela. All walks of life need to be involved in baseball, need to be involved in all businesses. They need to be involved in all decisions so that you can make better decisions.
Let's end on this. When obviously Nashville is your love right now, but your first love will always be
Always
Oakland.
be Oakland.
Just how important is it for Oakland to get Howard Terminal and to get this done and to solidify for the rest of our lives the A's in Oakland?
Well, when the Warriors leave, and some people may say the Warriors were in San Francisco first, and then they came to Oakland, and then they went back to San Francisco. That could be the way you look at it. When the Raiders leave, I don't think that the city, and if it's the city council or who, I don't think they understand how important this development will be for the city of Oakland. There's not been a major league facility that's been built in a downtown area that has this vision that hasn't been successful for not just the baseball team, but for the economy. And so if this does not happen, if this team is allowed to leave, I think it's going to take Oakland a long time to recover from this, if they recover at all.
Yeah, well said. Well, A's Hall of Famer, always great to have you on the program. And you and I doing A's pregame live on NBC Sports California in about a half hour.
Coming up soon.
Hey, and the A's are hot right now. Just swept the Astros.
They're playing real good, but we're in the next series now, so let's start from day one.